Welcome to Noob D&D, Dad. So I just want to show you my setup and how I've been doing stuff and kind of get you caught up with my DMing two different groups all of a sudden. So I played D&D like 20 years ago, and I think it was version 3.5 maybe, and I had tons of fun, but maybe I wasn't as serious as I should have been because I wasn't invited back. But I did have lots of fun. Here we are 20 years later. I watched the D&D movie, and I was like, that is so awesome. That reminds me of how it felt to play D&D. And my son was getting older, and so I started looking at the different starter set things, like Essentials Kit, Starter Kit, and I narrowed down on the Essentials Kit because I felt like it had like the most stuff in it, and then also it wasn't as like hand-holdy. Not to put down the starter set, but I liked the idea that I had to create my own characters. It didn't come with pre-made ones. But going back in time a little bit, before I started doing DMing, I asked my friend who played D&D a lot and was really, really into D&D 3.5 edition. I asked him, I said, hey, would you be willing to do a campaign for me and my wife and maybe our son, and you're the DM, and it would just be really casual, like as far as like timing goes, like it might only be like once a month, once every other month, and it would just be a really good time to learn, and we could just explore and have fun. I was like, would you be able to be a DM with those parameters, like beginner friendly and kind of the time frames a little looser? Because sometimes we have to like put kids in bed, and so we have to like stop the game and stuff. So I was like, because I could see a DM being really frustrated with having to DM for like a married couple that has to put kids in bed because then they have to pause everything. So I was like, hey, with all these parameters, would you be cool doing that? He's like, yeah, totally. So we started a D&D 3.5 campaign, and he left all his stuff here, and we didn't do too many sessions, but it was so fun, and he was so detailed, and it was so interesting. And I told him, I said, so as a player, I was like, I want to challenge you by my choices. Like, I want to just try everything I can, not to be like obnoxious, but I really wanted to treat it like an open world, and I wanted to like challenge him to have to populate what I was trying to do. And he thought that was cool that I really wanted to like get into it that much. And but ultimately we did invite a couple other members of the group, and they totally flaked out. And so that group wasn't really working very well. And so as we were waiting for the other group to show up, or for the other group to meet their time commitments with us, or actually be able to all line up our schedules on the same day, I was like, hey, what if like I was the DM? Like, we're talking, I'd only played a few sessions 20 years ago, and then a few sessions like right now of 3.5. And I was like, what if I was a DM and I DM'd 5th edition? Because I was starting to get the vibe that 5th edition was a lot easier than 3.5. And I started researching it, and it seems like it is. So I told my friend, I was like, hey, like, I kind of want to try to be the DM for my son, and would you want to be a player there? And I didn't want him to feel like I was trying to like take over or dethrone or anything. I was just like, would you want to do that? And we could do that kind of in between while we're waiting for our group to form. And he was like totally excited, because I think he like to let go of the burden of DMing and just play, and especially play in a casual way. So he agreed. And so my friend and my 8-year-old son are now in a campaign from the Essentials Kit, which is the Dragon of Icespire Peak. And this is how my setup looks. So here's the dice that came with it. Here's all the cards with like the magic items and stuff. And then here's the cool DM screen, which the thing that I use the most is the ability checks. That's really nice. And then here's some cool dice that were on super sale on Amazon. But one goal that I had with the Essentials Kit is I really wanted to challenge the Essentials Kit. Like, hey, is this thing does it actually contain everything you need to play? Because if you look at this thing, like it only goes to like page 63. Like this is very abbreviated. Obviously, it doesn't have all the races and classes, which is fine. I knew it was going to start out there. And then, but it does explain how to play. It does have equipment and everything. So that was my question. Is the Essentials Kit enough to play? And so even though I got a whole bunch of books on Amazon because they went on super sale, and I may have got really carried away, I, at first, refrained from using them because I'm like, I really want to try just the Essentials Kit, like just really push it to the max. And I was truly finding that with the basic rules that were in here, and then with a little bit of research online, like kind of like I mentioned in my last video, like Bob World Builder and stuff like that, that it was more than enough. And honestly, like I was starting to find that with all the stuff that I was adding in, I was like, oh my gosh, I could play this, just this Essentials Kit. Like here's all the quests, right? Like here's the starting quests, and then here's all the follow-up quests, and then that's kind of it. But there's so many different places you can go on here, and the book has like so many little side quests, and it even has quests that aren't in the quest list, like that you could get from talking to somebody. And so I was just like, man, you could do so much in here. And this is where I really started to love it. I just like a video game, right? Like when you're walking around in an open world video game, how like the world just populates, and then you can interact with stuff. Like if you remember the game like Red Faction, like I love that you could like break holes in walls in that game. Like I really wanted to treat this as like anything goes. I mean, within like moral boundaries, because it's for my 8-year-old, so I didn't want him to be doing like crazy stuff. But I wanted to challenge my creativity by encouraging my players to just do whatever. And then also, in each of these little encounters, like it really just tells you like exactly what to do. Like let me show you. Like here's the Dwarven excavation. This is one of the early ones. Like it seriously tells you, it's like you walk up to it, you see this, and it tells you it's like there's the bad guy, here is the treasure, and like everything's highlighted. Like and there's a map, and then the map is labeled with numbers, and then it tells you like what is there. And so it really made it easy to just like run it out of the book. Like you almost don't have to prepare it. But like I said, it became like a creativity challenge for myself. Let me pause and kind of go back a little bit. So I've been telling stories to my little kids at night and just making stuff up as I went, like fantasy stories. And I'm normally not really a fantasy person. Like I'm normally a sci-fi person. So I've been telling my kids these stories at night, and they've been about like dragons and castles and magic, and it's been fun. Like they've been loving the stories, but it's been fun for me because I seriously just make it up as I go. And then they go up the mountain, and then in my head I'm like, well, what are they going to find up the mountain? I'm like, there's a stream. And then like one of their horses died, and then they have to eat their horse, and then they find a dragon. Like it's been so fun making up these stories for my kids. Now, flash forward back to DMing now. And it's been fun as these guys are going on these quests. Because look at this. So you start in Phandalin, which is here, and each of these little hexes I think is 5 miles. Yeah. Yep. Boop. Sorry if this is making you dizzy, moving it too fast. Anyway, so there's quite a bit of distance between all the stuff that you're actually going to do. So anytime they're traveling somewhere, I'm just like, well, it's not just going to be like a big grassy field. Like there's got to be something, right? And so there's this ice dragon. So I'm like, okay, let's make some orcs that are frozen. And like, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to free them? Are they going to kill them? Are they going to rob them? Like, I love presenting like morally ambiguous decision-making points and seeing what people do. But yeah, I just found that I would just populate there's a little building over here, and like you're gonna go look at it, and what are you gonna find in there? And so I've just been having an absolute blast like populating the world. My biggest challenge has been like the rules, like understanding like, okay, when do I need to make them roll dice? How do I make them find things? Like how do I make it challenging? How do I make it interesting? but the book makes it very easy. And these guys are being really patient with me, and like, uh, they're also pretty methodical. Like my son wants to just like flip over every stone and look in everyone's drawers and like steal everything. So it's a nice pace for me as a new DM. So depending on where they are, like if they're in Phandalin, I like to have the Phandalin map up, and then they would sit over here. Like that's their character sheets. Like they'd sit over there. But I like to encourage like Phandalin like role playing so they can just like wander around and see what's what. And my son wanted to go explore these ruins. And so I ended up having like a feral teenager over there like attack them, and they like captured him and like brought him over to this like little street side cafe to this lady who works and lives there, and she's gonna like raise this kid, domesticate him. And then they went to the town master and they're like, hey, we just like dealt with this menace from these ruins, like can you give us a reward? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So it's been so fun to just invent like extra stuff. And like I said, it's been fun to take a lot of the people that have DM guides on YouTube about Dragon of Ice Spire Peak and basically just incorporate their ideas. Here's a map I made of Axholm, which I realized I sent my players there much too early. But I wanted part of it to be that it's a little bit difficult to read. Also, this is like a sanitized version. So if you look at the one in the book, there's like crumbled portions of the map. So I made that with Bob World Builder's map aging system. I also made this one, which may have got carried away because it's pretty hard to read. But I kind of wanted that to be like the point though. Like where in game you're like, here's this ratty old map. Like part of you role playing is that you're gonna have to try and like read this thing. And as we're gonna find out, the veterans group that I volunteered to DM for, they don't want to they don't want to look at ratty old maps. They just download whatever the map is from the internet and just follow that. So I'm actually 8 sessions in both groups. And this week is going to be session 9 in both groups. And they could not be more different, except for my friend that's in the vet group plays very similar to my 8-year-old son in that they just want to plunder everything. Okay, so before I get into how it's going with the vet group, there was some Amazon sales, and they they were pretty deep sales. And I was having so much fun DMing. I'm just like, I love this. And these books, like if the books are like this Ice Spire Peak book, I'm like, I could get years out of these things. Like with how much just like extra stuff that I add, like I could get years out of these things. So with the deep Amazon sales, plus the fact that I was having so much fun, kind of went a little bit nuts. And here's what I got. So I got this stuff. The core rule books, right? The DM guide, monster manual, player's handbook. And then either because the sales were so deep or that I had heard good things, I got these other books. Also, some of them lead into each other. Also, some of them have one-shots. And I'm really interested in doing one-shots. And I'm finding that I really want to do... I really want to DM for like kids. Like I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and there's like a lot of neighborhood kids. And I'm like, I think I would like to DM for like my son and his friends, or like my son and my 2 little daughters, and just do like little one shots, or maybe do like other little campaigns. And so anyway, I buy a lot of books, and yes, I'm a new DM. I still don't even know exactly what to do with said books, but I will tell you, I'm loving it and I'm willing. And if the army's taught me anything, is that if I'm willing, then I can do a lot of stuff. Like I've been sent to a lot of really cool trainings in the army because I've been willing. And so I'm finding that as a DM, I'm like, you know what? I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to kind of put myself on the spot. Like it's a little bit embarrassing. Like sometimes, like the other day with the vet group, like I just got so into it, and they were in this shrine, and then like an ogre busts through the door, and I had the ogre be like, "Oi, like what's all this then?" And just like this awful accent, and I just like yelled it out, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I just did that, like that just happened," and everyone seemed like they're having a good time, but I was like, "Wow, that was a little bit embarrassing." Uh, yeah, so I'm like, I'm getting these books, like I'm getting into this, like I could totally DM from all my nieces and nephews, like do one shots or for my brothers and sisters and stuff. So uh that's why I got the books. But for this campaign with my son and my friend, I'm like, let's really just stick to this essentials kit. And then we'll start expanding if we need to. Okay, now enter the veterans campaign. So how did it come up? Anyway, I volunteered to be the DM. I was like, I'll do it. I was like, I'm being a DM for my son. I'm having a blast. I will totally DM if we want to do like a vet group, D&D group. And so it's just like, all right, here we go. So my friends and son's group was ahead. So I was like, I already have this stuff prepared. Like I've already prepared some of the random encounters. Like I've already invented some of the stuff. I was like, let's I'll just use my same notes. But they are such different players. There's 4 players and they are lifelong gamers and they're all military, and it's just like smash, grab, like hit the objective, like very. They're fast and they want treasure and they want results, and it's stretching me. I'm having to really like, because with the other guys I can kind of go a little slower and be like, okay, I'm gonna need to hurry and invent something. With these guys, like I gotta be on my toes, and it just makes it more fun. So with my son, it's like a little bit violent. Like for example, there's zombies, but I make them like really old, like dusty zombies, so when they get hit they kind of fall apart, instead of like, I think the book portrays them as like kind of more gooey. And so like the deaths in the vet group are a lot more gory because it's like all adults. So I'm totally dedicated to doing like kid friendly D&D. So I'll do that. And this channel should be family friendly. I don't want to say kid friendly because it's not a kid friendly channel, because you have to say that on your little settings, but family friendly channel. But yeah, so I wanted to do the essentials kit by itself, and I think it's passed the test. I think it's a worthy thing, and I think it is an amazing starter set. It was like $11 on Amazon, like some of the best money I've ever spent. That and Star Trek The Next Generation on Blu-ray, some of the best money I've ever spent. I digress. So with the vet group, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go, like, here's an example. I'm like, here guys, here's the PDF of the starter set. Pick one of these basic classes and races so that because I'm a beginner DM. So pick one of these things so that we can keep it inside of this book. This is the book I'm using. And I show up and they're like, oh, we all made our characters in D&D Beyond. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they are not anywhere close to what I asked them to do. There's a goblin sorcerer, a gnome rogue, there's a half-orc paladin warlock, and there's I think a half-elf bard. And it's like, this, you guys, this is not in my book. But they have it all. So here's a testament to D&D Beyond. And these guys are all using the free version. They have it all. They have all the stats on there. And so I'm like, you guys run it. Like, you know what spells you're doing? Like, great. I'll present the world. I'll present the story, the campaign. I'll give you morally ambiguous decisions. And you guys run your characters. I'll tell you, I'm doing milestone leveling up, not XP. So I'll tell you when you guys level up. You sit and do it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, so this channel, this video series is all about chronicling the DM. And I'm trying to just get you caught up because now we're 16 sessions in. I have DM'd 16 sessions for 2 different groups. And I think you're kind of caught up. That's like the fast version. But it's been awesome learning. I'm just loving making stuff up. Like I had them come across the army group when they were on their way down to the mountains. Like there's so much space like right here. I had them come across like a little prepper's cabin in the kind of the plains that where they originally it was just destroyed by the dragon and had like a bunch of ice on it. And they're like, we want to go explore it. And I'm like, oh, what's in there? And so I very quickly had to be like, okay, there's a little living room. There's a longbow under his bed. And then they're like, is there a cellar? And I'm like, yeah, there's a cellar. And so I had there be a whole bunch of like rations down there. And then I had there be a bunch of like homemade bombs down there. So it's been awesome just letting them like presenting the quests, but also letting them kind of do whatever. And I hope that they will continue to do that. So, if you have any advice as a player, as a DM, I would love to hear it. I feel because I've been creeping on all the D&D YouTube channels, and a common thread I see in the comments is that people don't have a play group. And so I realized that as a new player and a new DM, that I'm very lucky and very fortunate to suddenly be DMing for 2 different groups, with the possibility of DMing for more with like nieces and nephews and stuff. So I realize I'm very lucky and blessed to have that. And a lot of people online say that they don't have the group. So I want to let you know that I am grateful for this, and that if you have any advice on fun things to do in campaigns as a player or as a DM, like I'd love to hear it. Absolutely would love to hear it. I am totally new. Like if there's a rule that you're like, don't forget about this rule. Like I just barely learned what inspiration is. I finally learned what like advantage and disadvantage is. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning the rules. But ultimately I'm trying to be creative and let them be creative too and let them have fun. Also, if you are someone that does not have a play group, maybe we could do a play group here. Maybe we could start a play group here. Maybe we could do Dragon of Icefire Peak via video, and you tell me in the comments, like I'll present the situation, and in the comments you tell me what your decision is, and then I go off of one of those and we move the story forward based on what people said. Like I think that would be a really cool series. So yeah, if you're interested in a series like that, especially if you don't have a group, like if you want to just try this with me. So yeah, I want to chronicle my DM-ness, but also I'd be open to doing like a kind of like a distance group, like kind of like online chess where you make your move and then you just wait infinitely until they make their move. It'd kind of be like that. Like I'd present a situation, you'd leave a bunch of comments, then I would move the situation forward based on that. So that's kind of another set of videos, I guess. Let me know if that sounds interesting. Okay, last little bit. So I, in addition to Army, I've also done wildland firefighting for a long time. And so I promise this is relevant to D&D. So when the Maui fires were happening and that whole destruction was happening, and it was so terrifying, and people missing and people getting bottlenecked and bad emergency management. Anyway, all this stuff happening. It's just weighed heavily on my mind because I've been in a lot of wildland fire situations. And I was looking at this map and I was like, what's this? I was like, you know what? That's a volcano. I'm deciding it's a volcano. Now, in lore, it totally is a volcano. But I was like, that's a volcano. And that's another thing too. I'm like, I'm totally good to go out of the books and like research, but I'm also good to be like, nope, this is what's in this town, like in this world, you know, like just change it up. But for my son's game, I'm like, I'm gonna have this volcano go off and just like fill the sky with ash. And so in their game right now, Phandalin is full of refugees. There's like tents lining the streets. There's beggars. There's just refugees everywhere. There's ash falling from the sky. So my questers taking over Axholm is even more important because they need more room for all the refugees from up north. And I think I'm gonna have, like, if they actually get up there into the forest around the volcano, like, or in the city, like I think there's gonna be some like actual scary fire danger that they're gonna have to like intuitively navigate. But for now, it's just mountains of ash, refugees, and none of this is in the book. So, gosh, this is fun. And like I mentioned in my other video, everyone's been awesome. Everyone's been helpful. Everyone's been great. So please let me know anything that you think and subscribe if this sounds like fun. If you want to go on this journey with a new DM who's fortunate enough to be DMing for 2 groups, even though he's brand new. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'd love to hear what you think. Subscribe and comment and push the thumb button, up or down. They both do the same. I mean, they're both engagement. Okay, so I'm excited once this campaign's over to dive into those other books like The Curse of Strahd, anything like that. Like, I'm so excited to just keep going on here, and it's a blast. So let me know what you think, and watch for updates. Okay, see you on the next one. Bye.